Google Home, a digital assistant, has officially launched. A home digital assistant. Selena Larson from CNN Money has already spent some time with the device and tells us how she thinks it compares to her Amazon Echo. Welcome, Selena.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So first, tell us a little bit about what Google Home could do for you.
Yeah, so out of the box is very similar to the Amazon Echo out of the box. It can tell you the time, the weather, what's on your calendar for the day. You can do simple search queries like who's Barack Obama, what time is the final World Series game on, what was it, Wednesday? So out of the box is very standard to the Amazon Echo, which uses Alexa. But where things get a little bit different in terms of there's a hardware, of course, where, I had to often scream at the Google Home a little bit more, whereas I felt like Alexa was kind of always on, always listening, and responded to my just regular conversational voice. But also, too, there aren't as many third-party services offered immediately with Google Home. The SDK isn't yet open for third-party developers to make apps and services on there. So come December, it might open up a little bit, but out of the box, it's very limited.
So does the Google Home come built in with all the information that Google already knows about me?
Sort of. If you're already entrenched in the Google ecosystem, for instance, the calendar, if you have a Chromecast, it doesn't actually have like Google Mail. So you can't say, okay, Google, can you look up this mail that I got from, my fiance about our wedding or whatever. But it does have your Google Calendar, which Alexa on the Echo also can connect to. So it doesn't necessarily have all of the Google services built right in. So it's not truly, part of the Google ecosystem yet. I think, once people start using Google Assistant, which you'll also remember is the AI brain behind like Allo, the chat app, and they're really trying to have this more authentic conversation bot with Google Assistant as opposed to, the Siri or Alexa that are already on the market. But yeah, for now it's I think it's personally pretty limited. But for just like the basics of, where can I have dinner? What's a restaurant around me? What time is it? What was the score of the Rangers game? For a lot of these things, it was pretty it was pretty basic but helpful.
So one of the things that I was concerned about pretty much from day one when they announced this back at Google I/O was that, in their promotional video, they show this whole family, like they're living vibrantly with multiple Google Homes spread throughout the house. And they're all, having a great time, answering questions, helping them cheat on their homework and all this stuff. But that means that would then mean that there are multiple people using it, so it would benefit from a multiple account approach. But in this case, it's only tied to one account. Did that prove to be an issue in your testing of the device?
Yes. So in my household, 2 people use our Echo, but for Google Home, it was only connected to my account, my services, so it wasn't really that helpful. It did connect to Chromecast, which I thought was pretty cool. We kind of talked about Google ecosystem and the services, so that is something that it has, a little bit of a leg up on the Echo, is that it connects, natively to the Chromecast, as opposed to having to hack the Echo and Alexa to work on your hardware. But yeah, it was the multiple accounts thing. Also, if you have people who have, for instance, the Google Pixel phone, saying, okay, Google triggers the assistant on that also. So if your phone is near your home at all, then both things pop up and it gets very confusing which one you're trying to talk to.
That's an interesting point, because Google has even said that they were working on ways to make sure that one would go off and the other would not, that they would be able to kind of like triangulate and determine which one you're actually talking to. So the fact that it's still doing both, that's a really big downside, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, actually. Just like the constant, like, oh, they both go off at the same time.
Yeah.
And also just saying Google so often with Alexa, I feel like it feels a little bit more natural. It's not a company brand name.
Right.
Alexa is obviously a brand, but you're not saying, okay, Amazon. But Alexa, it's kind of like you're more talking to an assistant, whereas saying Google so often can get kind of frustrating. Also, if you're having to scream it multiple times, like I had to in my relatively small kitchen too, I would be like, okay, Google.
So did you use it mostly with an iPhone?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I did test it a little bit with an Android, but when I switched accounts back and forth, but it was mostly on my iPhone.
And how was the sound? How are the speakers? Like, was it nice to listen to music on that?
Yeah, so sound quality, I would say, is pretty comparable to the Echo. The Echo Dot actually has a little bit of a better speaker in terms of quality, not in terms of like how loud it can go. But if you're looking for, super high quality sound, you're better off sticking to, like a Sonos or something, which Google Home doesn't actually have Sonos integration yet. Again, very limited third-party services. It does have Spotify, Pandora, NPR, Fox News, your pretty standard news and music apps, but it doesn't connect to a lot of the smart home stuff that Alexa does, or the Echo does for now.
So how easy was it to set up?
So I don't know if I've said this on your show before when we were talking about gadgets, but I get so frustrated with smart home stuff. It takes me so long to set up anything. It was kind of easy. It took me probably about 5 minutes to set it up initially, connected to the Wi-Fi, input my Google account ID and information. It was pretty difficult to connect it to my calendar and to the Chromecast. And it was funny because a couple of times I was talking to the Home and we'd be streaming something on the Chromecast and it would accidentally start playing on the Chromecast as opposed to just repeating it back to me on the home speaker. So that was a little bit of an issue that we had, was kind of connecting it to the Chromecast versus the Home. But eventually, I think once we sort of got over those little hiccups and I realized, I was like, oh, well, maybe it's casting because I had just commanded it to cast this. And then it definitely had some hiccups along the way. But I feel like anytime I set up a smart home thing, for a tech reporter, I have so many technical issues. Inevitably something goes wrong.
So how much did you use the Touchpad? I know that's something that the Google Home has that the Amazon Echo does not have. Did you find yourself using the Touchpad very much?
No, I actually didn't use it at all, except to just test turning the mic on and off. I do have to say that the volume controls with your voice on the Echo are a lot easier. It has more significant change in volume when you say up or down, whereas if you're trying to turn the volume down on the Google Home, it goes very incrementally. So it is easier to turn the volume down on the touchpad on Google Home. However, the couple of times that I wanted to turn the volume up or down, I was doing dishes. And so my hands were wet and I was trying to use my voice. So it took a few times saying, okay, Google, volume down.
So you can buy things, obviously, with the Amazon Echo, with your voice. You can, add things to shopping lists, but you can also buy things that you've already bought from Amazon. And maybe now you can buy other things. Can you buy anything using the Google Home right now?
No, so that is actually, for me personally, a huge deal. We're a very Amazon-centered household, I guess. We buy tons of stuff on there. We're Prime members. So for me, it was actually really easy to just be like, oh, hey, hey, Alexa, buy now Honey Nut Cheerios or something. So if you're an avid Amazon user, I think that the Echo for now is probably the better option because it's so easy to add stuff to your shopping cart, or Alexa will ask if you want to buy it now. And that, I think, is probably the leg up for me personally. As opposed, in addition to having, all of these other third-party services.
So the Amazon Echo is the most expensive of these, but the Google Home is more expensive than the Echo Dot, which I think works just fine. I have both the Echo Dot and the Amazon Echo, and the Dot is fine and better for listening because I can just hook it up to my speakers. But so I'm not sure what Google Home has except for the future, or for someone like Jason who's completely in that ecosystem.
Yeah, I'll be curious because I have no personal experience with the Echo, so I have no baseline to compare it to, and I'm also fully into the Google ecosystem. I'll be curious to see how well it kind of holds up in our household. I should be getting it within a week. I got my shipping notice on it, so I'm looking forward to getting it. It does kind of sound, based on what you're saying, though, that right out of the box, it's definitely sounds like it's a little less feature rich than the Echo, and hopefully they build that out over time and it becomes a little bit more powerful.
And I think that's obviously something that once that happens, once you can do multiple accounts, once it supports additional third-party services, I think it'll definitely be a better option. But it's really hard to I feel like, honestly, I was almost comparing apples to oranges because Alexa has already existed for 2 years. They have something like 3,000 skills that is available on Alexa, and you already have these hacks. People are connecting their Teslas to their Amazon Echo. There's just all of these different things that you can do with it already that Google just out of the box doesn't have. But I was talking to a Googler when it first launched Google Home, and they said that they think that the Google Assistant is going to be as bigger than Android. With the developer community, they're great at building community in the ecosystem, and so whatever skills or apps or assistant tools that eventually come to Google, I think that it'll be a very formidable force competition for the Echo.
Well, Selena, thanks so much for joining us. Selena Larson is a reporter at CNN, a writer at CNN, and is at Selena Larson on Twitter and on Medium. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.